All right, it is now 7:56, and we'll call the meeting to order. And note for the record that Peter Weeks and I are here in person, and Dana is on via conference call. And we also have a member of the public in the audience and city attorney with us via Microsoft Meetings. So it will be an interesting program to watch on TV later on. So we'll start with the minutes of the last two meetings. The first is the revised minutes of the October 8th special meeting. And the second is the October 15th regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as drafted.
So moved.
Do we hear a second, Dana?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, corrections, changes? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? I guess with you on the line, Dana, we have to do a roll call. We'll start with you, Dana. Are you in favor?
Yes, favor.
And Peter?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. It's unanimous. All right. Next, Jennifer, we're going to go with you as the next item on our agenda, and consistent with our email communications, we have distributed your November 14th memo as well as the potential donor questionnaire. Would you like to briefly take us through those and perhaps answer questions?
Sure. Happy to do that. Good morning, everyone. As you see from the memo, if you have it in front of you, I basically just summarized that I will be the liaison now from the legal department going forward. And I had a meeting with the chair, and thank you, Tom, for providing some additional information and past documents that have either set up scholarships or various updates to the website that you guys have undertaken. So I appreciated having those documents to look through. I also kind of took a spin around other towns in New Hampshire that have trustees of the trust fund and looked at what they had on their website. Basically just did a deep dive into the work that you guys do and what your compatriots do around the state. And then does anyone have any questions there? I'll pause.
Any questions, Peter or Dana?
No.
Just note for the record that Dana has now joined us
on Teams
via the meeting, either Microsoft Meetings or Zoom. So no questions on those.
Great. And then just to parachute up for a minute, I bulleted this memo in terms of what I think what the requests are top of mind for you all that you'd like me to do, but that the order may not be in the order that you guys would like. So feel free to comment. But I have website revision there. Just I understand that you guys would like to update it a little bit and have folks who would like to establish a scholarship have a way to get in contact or to begin the process right from the website. So I have some recommended language there to that effect. Essentially a welcoming, thank you for thinking of this. Please give a little bit of information and someone will contact you. And if you guys are in agreement that person be me, my name can be there, my email, my number, etc. And I did speak with Auntie Bohannon in the city manager's office, who is the person that would help me set up something similar to what you already have there if folks want to contribute directly to the scholarships that exist already. He assures me it's pretty easy. He walked me through it, but he'll be there to help. So that's the website revision, and again, it's bulleted as number one on the memo, but it doesn't, we can kind of do all of these things at the same time. And
Tom,
Hold
go
on,
ahead.
Dana.
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. Can I ask two questions or make two comments? I think this work is really moving us in the right direction. I have two comments. One is on the scholarships. I noticed on the questionnaire, I think at the end, you said, do you have an attorney or an estate lawyer, which is fine, but somewheres we should make it clear that the city attorney's office will end up drafting the trust for review by whoever the donor wants it reviewed by. So that was one thought. And the other was, what was the other one? Oh, on we focused on scholarships and the process to go through creating a trust if a donor desired. But I also think we should have a template for anyone who wants to make a donation to the city, whether it will be for cemetery funds, for the library, for any, even if it comes to public art. We're going to talk about that later. So in due course, maybe that's something that could be added to your to-do list.
Yeah, thank you. Those are excellent comments. Thank you. I've noted them. I think that is your vision for the donating to the city. It could probably be in a couple places. Maybe as I said, similar to. Oh, we have a CB in the car. Sorry about that. Hold on a second.
CD in the car?
Not CD, CB, as in breaker 19. it just went off. That was unexpected.
What's your handle?
We're in a city vehicle. Okay, we are really running the gamut of technology today.
Before you move on, let me just add something to Dana's comments, because I do think making it easy for people to contribute on various levels makes sense. But I would note that the city has adopted a donation policy that has requirements that are different than our policy, and we are an exemption under the city's donation policy. So before you simply create a one-size-fits-all donation portal, you better look at what the city's requirements are. I think, in fact, the city council has to vote to accept donations, whereas if somebody contributes to one of our community scholarships, that's not necessary. So, good idea, but it may need some refinement. Any other questions of Jen at this point? Peter?
Tom, does the city council have to accept a scholarship donation if it's a named one?
No. You may recall that the city redid its donation policy about 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
We worked with the legal office on that, and there's a specific exemption for trustee-related trust under that policy.
Okay.
If you ever watch the city council meetings, you'll see at the end of the night they have a list of donations received, and they can be as small as $100, and they still end up getting city approval. I don't know what Jen, to get back to you on this. It looks like we got some more stages of this effort to go through. Particularly once we get to creating the templates for the scholarship trust agreements. But I wonder if we could think about, getting something on the website right now that directs people who are interested in establishing a scholarship directly to you. In other words, let's get people who have an interest starting to get in touch with you to start the process instead of what may be 2 or 3 months while we work out the details of
Yep.
of these documents. Does that make sense?
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Do you see if you go on page 2, under the recommendation section of the memo, there's a quotation, something like that, and then it would just have my contact information. Something instead of thank you, if you would like to consider the creation of a new scholarship, please reach out, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm thinking
Great.
something like that. We could work with Monty or Alan, whoever does the amendments to the different components of the website, to
Yeah.
incorporate that in now, so we can make sure we don't lose any people while we're finishing the rest of it.
Yes, I think that's really important. And one thing I will say, I think I previewed this a little with you, Tom, when we spoke, but no other city or town in the state has as informative a website as we do, by a lot. And I actually spoke to a few folks who, on the staff side, who were working with the trustees, and none of them get any. I mean, the woman I spoke to in Concord hadn't had a donation since 2016. So I think it's really, speaks to the uniqueness and specialness of Portsmouth. But also, I looked at some private institutions to kind of see what they were doing around this. Hospitals were the kind of the primary representatives, that category. And they did have everyone, the one commonality was, here's a number, here's a name. And there was language that was very appreciative. And I think, for something like this, having that level of high touch is really important. And so, I'm happy to do that.
No, I think that's great. If we have other thoughts unrelated to the scholarship process for changes in the website, should we go through you, or should we go directly to Monty, or who should we go to, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I think you could go through me.
Okay.
Send them directly to me.
That'd be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's great. So that will create our sort of line of communication at this point. It's not on the agenda today, but we wanted to start looking at updating some of the website anyway. So probably
Great.
in the next month or so, we'll have some feedback for you there. Anything else on the scholarship item?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let me just say that I think this is a great start. At least I feel like we're making some movement at this point, and that's what we need to be doing. Any other questions, Dana or?
Yeah. Jen, it was a great report. You put a lot of thought and energy into it. I want to give you another task to add to your list, and is what constitutes a quorum for a trustees meeting, either in person or by Zoom. If it is by Zoom, do all 3 people have to be, or 2 of the people have to be in person? If you could check in Robert's.
Susan is nodding her head, and I defer to her nod.
No, it's still in the in 91A that a quorum has to be physically present for your meetings. So, a quorum, a majority of the board. So 2 out of 3. qualify as majority. And the third person on two is fine as long as you have the quorum physically present.
Okay, so, excuse me a minute, I'm gonna repeat that, Susan, because it's a little, you're not as clear as Jennifer is, so, and,
Sorry, John.
so
I'm
just,
here.
well, just, so what I understood you to say is under the Right to Know Law 91A, that a quorum, requires a majority of the members of the body. In our case, that would be 2 out of 3, and that majority has to be present in person. The third person is can be on Zoom or some other form of communication. And
That's correct.
all right, and so if we had a circumstance where we had 2 people who made it and the third couldn't, as long as those 2 people in the room are in the room together, that's a quorum. But
Yes.
if one person is present and the other in Zoom and the third person is absent, we don't have a quorum and can't conduct business.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Can you send us a copy of that statute then?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
follow that provision,
Yep.
that portion of the statute.
I mean,
What happened during COVID? Weren't meetings conducted totally remote?
They had some emergency orders. I think the governor issued some emergency orders during COVID that allowed for that. And then, I think that this provision in 91A wasn't there before all of the remote work during COVID. So they added this to allow some remote work, but they want a quorum physically present in the building where the meeting is happening.
That's great.
it's interesting because a quorum is one more than half, and it's too bad that they put that exception that they have to be present. So if Zoom's allowed, that should be the same as being present.
Yeah, well, the legislature hasn't caught up with that technology yet.
Well,
That's because the legislators don't have the wisdom of Peter Weeks, so.
That's right.
on this task then.
Couple more items. Could one of you tell us where we are with the Haven Metals litigation and probate court?
The notices of service have gone out, and we filed our acceptance of service yesterday, I think. I signed off on everything, so I've accepted service for all 3 of you. And the AG's office has accepted service as well. So the next step will be getting orders from the court on our date for an appearance or hearing, or I'm not sure if the court's going to just sign off on our agreed upon non-judicial settlement, or if we'll have to appear and talk to the court before they do that.
Okay, so you just keep us up to date on that. We'll be hitting, within 2 months, we'll be hitting the next scholarships cycle, so we want to try to get this nailed down as soon as the court can give us an answer. And then, final thing, do you have any updates on the 2 potential new scholarships, the Cole Haas or the Keenan ones?
Just a brief one. I have connected briefly with Cynthia Keenan. She is the daughter who wants to establish the scholarship on behalf of her mom. I just introduced myself. She was actually at an appointment with her son, so it was just a very, very brief, and I sent her a follow-up email, so I'll connect with her. And then on the other one, the Cole Haas, I reached out to to Brittany Lind at the high school because I didn't have a contact for him, for David. So if you have it now, I'll take it, but otherwise I did email Brittany.
Jen, I can send that to you.
Oh, great. Yes, please. Thank you. And then I will reach out to him probably tonight. Just send him an email.
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, do either of you have any further inquiries of Jen?
Keep up the good work.
Will do.
Any final things you want to say to us, Jen?
No, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be part of this, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Excellent. We're looking forward to working with you. And I'll let you go so you can enjoy the rest of your drive without listening to us.
For the Teams meeting.
So the city manager just pulled up next to us. This is wild, you guys. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the Public Arts Review. And Judy has prepared a spreadsheet for us. And I know I can find it somewhere here quick, but the inquiries we had at the last meeting were related to how the balance we're holding for the Public Arts Trust breaks down into the different projects.
Right.
And I wanted
Peter
to,
had asked for some transparency on what was in the Public Arts Trust and
Yeah.
how it was broken down.
This,
so one of the questions I had,
a question, oh, okay.
but no, you go ahead.
How long is that gonna sit there, Judy, the 35,000 from the Portsmouth Middle School building?
I honestly, I don't know.
You know, I mean,
I don't know. That would be a question for maybe Sean Clancy, or who,
I don't know that it would be Sean Clancy because
We,
I'm not sure.
this must have been money appropriated through the construction costs of the middle school project.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they haven't fully expended it, and so,
Well, and this goes back to 18, so it's 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Can we just look into maybe the council records? I don't know.
I mean, I can see what I can find out.
well, you know, I actually took a look at the ordinance that when they redid the public art, created the park committee, the arts review committee. They made some adjustments to the percent for art program, and I personally think there's some ambiguity in that. And so at some point, my thought was we may need to ask the legal department to weigh in on how we should interpret that. But one of the questions I had, which relates to your comment, was, so when we've seen this report before, I think we did one in August, you list the interest earned. Obviously, that figure changes every month. It's not clear to me how that figure is allocated among these different projects.
It's the bulk of that is from Bangor Savings, so prior to everything being moved in, it really belonged to the prior, like, I'll have to track that moving forward, but it belonged to, I'm not sure, I'll have to, let me look at it, Tom.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, no, it just, you know, we've been holding the money related to the Odyssey sculpture now for 5-6 years, right?
Right.
And it hasn't accumulated any interest at all. I realize it's in that checking account, which is,
Right.
but even that has a minimal amount of interest.
Yeah, but it's so tiny. I mean, we only, for the whole checking account, we only earn like $5. So that basically gets allocated how it's been done in the past. If you want to do it differently, I can put a penny in each account. But how it's been done is the biggest ones, which was like SIP indoor pool that's sitting in there right now. It's a percentage of the balance of the total amount in there. So in other words, if they have 80%, they get 80% of the interest.
The interest.
Yeah.
I'm involved in a couple of things like that.
Yeah,
I think if you do that, then it gets allocated correctly into the percentage of money that's invested.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
just, the only reason I thought of this particular one, even though the amount
Yep.
is small, is it doesn't even have 2 cents or something, so.
right. I'll look at that and allocate it out into these categories. Again, it's how it's reported on the MS9 is reported with the interest on because it's bulk. How it's here, I mean, I haven't gone to that level to allocate it here, but I can,
Okay,
okay?
one of the things that we'll have it with the middle school one, for instance, is that unless they have another art project for the school property, that money could sit there a long period of time, so.
Right.
I'm just thinking at some point, one of the things I'd like to do is perhaps do an end of the year chart with what each of these projects have, as opposed to the history of the disbursements in and out, but just what you're showing on the box
On
at
the
the bottom.
just, that's all you want then? You don't want to see the top part?
I'm not sure we need to see this one every month. I mean, this is.
I agree.
The consolidated statements of account is
Yep.
really helpful. But I anticipate that, right now, the park committee is a very active committee. I think
Correct.
the city council just approved them Monday
Correct.
night to go out and start raising money for another project at
Correct.
Blanco Park. And so, with some of these monies potentially sitting there, they should show some little movement. And then I think maybe quarterly or semi-annually, we would have something that would be
Okay.
updated like this. And I'd like to, I'm thinking in early January, I'd like to give Trish Dwyer a copy of where things stand as of the end of the calendar year.
So like, if I did it quarterly, would that work for you?
That would work fine with me. I just think that it would also help her committee in terms of.
So what I'll do is instead of showing the interest as one lump sum, I'll bring it down and allocate it out down on the bottom, and then you won't see, you know what I mean? It'll be accumulated in, it won't be a separate line item, down on the bottom piece. Interest will be built in, it will total the same amount, but I won't have a line that says interest earned year to date, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
Let me just, I had one of these for you, Dana, I'll email it to you, but
Judy, refresh my memory. What is COP and CIP?
City of Portsmouth is COP.
Okay.
CIP is the CIP,
capital improvement.
capital improvement plan.
Okay.
CIP,
So there's $50,000 allocated to this Public Arts Trust
is part of this,
unassigned from the city?
That's right.
Yes.
So the city did something about 3 years ago where they said, we're gonna give $25,000 a year unassigned for a project to Public Art Trust for public art. So, that money can be spent on anything the city council chooses to spend it on related to public art.
Yeah, someone should be aware of that 35,000 from the middle school, because that, in my view, could be
Yeah,
added to that 50,000.
okay,
you do something nice in the school.
yeah,
Well, and we still have $68,000 left from the Hanover Street Garage rehab. And to my knowledge, no one is talking about any part for that project yet, so. But
Yeah,
anyway,
right.
So-
They just finished the project, so.
But we've had the money for a little while, I think. But anyway, the point, however, is I think, we need to spread that interest out.
Yes, I'll take care of that.
And then, I'd like to have, say, quarterly, and by the end, when we do the January ones, we can get something off to Chris, so she knows where to go with her committee.
Can do that.
Okay, related to that Public Art Trust, we had some additional contributions that have come in.
Right.
Those are in the materials we received on Friday. I would entertain a motion to accept those donations. This is all for the NEBI project at Pohanko Park.
So move.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the contributions? Hearing none, I will take a vote of the motion. We'll start, it has to be a roll call. We'll start with Dana
I vote yes.
and Peter,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. All right, next item is the CD rates.
Right. So our CDs, the two CDs that we have for 250,000 apiece, do not roll over, are not scheduled to end until January. So I will come back with updated rates on the CDs for those next month, because it's too early, the rates can change.
Yeah, they seem to be going down as well.
They are going down. Everybody that I talk to, the short-term ones are the higher rates. If you go the further out you go, the lower the rates are right now.
It is.
And just, you want to quickly take us over the results of your search on the money market accounts?
Money market accounts was kind of an interesting, a lot of them are very, very low. Bank of America actually said to me they're no longer offering what they call the old-fashioned money market accounts now. They have like a interest savings account, which is different. Basically, what everyone said to me is until we really have a firm amount of something that we want to transfer over, there are so many tiers to all the rates for them that it really depends on how much money we're looking to transfer over. So, but Piscataqua Savings had, came in up to 100,000 or 99,999.99 1.26 rate. Newburyport Bank came in at 1.75, and that was up to 500,000. Citizens Bank would only give me a rate for if it was $1 million, and that was 2.48, because they're like until we know an exact amount, it's just
They don't have ranges?
they just didn't. She just was like, for $1 million it'll be 2.48. That's all I could get from her. Some of the banks were very friendly. Some of them were a little standoffish on the money market. I don't know how else to explain it. And then the rest of them you can see are just really, really, really low on the money market rates on what they're charging. Now, those are the banks that I heard back from.
Citizens 2.48 is,
For $1 million, though, has to be up to, and you have to put in $1 million.
oh, okay.
Okay.
They only insure it up to 250.
Yeah. So, but Citizens is who the city does all their banking with. So I think if we had a set amount and went back in, that they would give us the rate. It's again. Almost every single one of them said it would be helpful to know how much money was being discussed on the movement, because it does make a difference for them.
So it appears that Citizens CD rate for 6 months is 2.1, and the money market, assuming you do $1 million, is 2.48. So it's pretty close gap there. Okay. But the observation is it's it's a significant enough difference that CDs appear to still be the,
Right now, I would say yes. I mean, I could do this again in a month and it might fluctuate some. And it also depends on what you want to use the money for. If you want to move money and you're going to be wanting to take out of it at any time, as you know, then it makes more sense to be in an account that will allow you to do that without being penalized. CDs will penalize you.
in the money markets accounts, do they have like maximum number of checks that can be issued and stuff
It depends on the amount that goes in for some of them. For some of them, they had a minimum deposit amount, that had to stay in. So like for Citizens, that $1 million had to be in there. Anything above that, you can take out. It's more like it felt more like a CD to me. Some of them had minimum deposits. I will say Newburyport Bank, they said absolutely no limits on their monthly transactions in the money market. Everybody was different. A couple of I got a couple of clerks on the phone that were like, yeah, I think there's a limit of 7. And I was like, what do you think? It's.
All right, so let me just sort of clarify where we're at. So the 2 CDs that we are currently
Right,
holding, they come due in January or February?
January.
January. Early January?
One's the 8th and one's the 12th.
All right, so they'll come due before we meet in January. So maybe at next month's meeting, we should get final numbers and then give you
Yes.
authority of which
Yes.
one to move it into. Okay.
And I'll circle back as well with some of the banks that did not return my phone calls or my emails. So, not sure why that is, but I'll circle back.
Okay.
Okay. I do have a question for you to think about. I'm thinking for the next one, a recommendation. The indoor pool trust
Yep.
has, hang on a minute, I'm looking for my amount. Has like $183,000 is sitting in the checking account. I really think that either we should look at moving that over to the TD Bank investments. What I'd like to do is for the next meeting, I'll send you a copy of the trust, and then we can determine where we might like to move it. It really should be earning more money, and they're not using a lot of it right now.
And what is it?
The indoor pool, the SIP, the money that came
yeah.
over from SIP, it really could be earning, it's $183,000,
Yeah.
it really should be moved.
Can you, before you come in on that next time, can
Yep.
you check with Karen and ask if she anticipates, or maybe there's money in the CIP for it, but she anticipates an additional draw like we had this year, and how much that would be? And if it's not anticipated, and most of the stuff that would draw the matching for that SIP funds would be a significant enough project.
Right.
It's capital improvement, it's not operating. So it may be that they have something in the plan, in which case we would break this into 2, maybe put 50,000 in the Citizens and the balance goes over to the TD.
I will say though, it's very easy to get money out of TD, like I get it within a day. So if we sent the money over and invested it, and it was invested for 3 or 4 months, it'd be earning that money, and then if we had to draw out 20,000 or whatever it is that they need, like they would ship it, that's what we do now when we need funds. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, I'll have rates for
yeah.
everything, and that's something, I'll send the copy of the trust, so you can look at it, see what you feel comfortable with. But I do think the money should not all be sitting in the checking account, it could be earning some good funds.
I agree.
Yeah, okay, so I'd still just ask you to touch base.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're,
But actually, it wouldn't make any difference, Tom, because even if it's with TD, we can get that out quickly.
Well, that's what you're saying, yeah.
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 So I don't know why, listen, let's earn the interest as soon as we can.
Are we allowed on that trust to put capital at risk?
That's why I want to give you a copy of the trust, have you all look at it. I get my look at it, but I don't have Tom's obviously legal brain. To me, it says that it can be invested with other investment funds, so the way it's worded looks to me like it can be put in with the TV trust, but I obviously would want the three of you to weigh in. Obviously, you're the ones making the decision, but my initial look at it gives me the impression that we can.
Okay,
Okay?
Yeah,
we'll look at it.
yeah, if you could send that out.
Yes.
More sooner than later to give
Yes.
us a chance to review it.
Yep.
Okay,
And I did talk, just, again about the, below rate market, housing trust, the 2 CDs. I did speak with Karen, Tom, you had asked me to.
right,
To see, how quickly she felt when the monies might be used. She said that she would know more this week on that, so I will recircle back with her. But they kind of were under the impression at least one of them could be rolled over probably for 6 months. The other one might be either a 3 or a 12-month, depending on how they're going to come into the money and when. I also spoke with Nathan Lunny, and he kind of had the same impression, but they were waiting for some information regarding one of the projects, so. Okay.
While we're dealing with these items here, on the TD related items, on the consolidated statement of accounts,
Yes.
that Newburyport, we're still holding that $24.
You and I need to go to
That's-
Newburyport Bank. I'm out next week, but I was thinking the first week in December, she's told me what we need to do, so we can go in and get that money out and just close that little account out.
Okay, so I'll just wait to hear from you and then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I assume everybody's had a chance to look at the materials that were sent out last week. Any questions about either the TD dashboard or Judy's summary of the TD performance?
Nope.
Okay. And you have, I think the only thing we have left is to sign checks unless anybody else has some new business. We actually have one check.
On scholarship. This student is through Boston University, is attending a school overseas. And so this is the address to send to for BU to pay for her tuition for the second half of the year. She paid out of pocket herself for her first semester, but she's asking for the scholarships to be sent. And I verified all that. That is the location that the monies will go for the student exchange, foreign student exchange.
That's the student.
Yes.
All right.
And just to remind everyone, next month I will have the payouts for Prescott Park. The library trusts, they'll have their payout. And the Marine Maintenance Trust loan payback, I will have next month, those documents as well. We always do those in December.
Okay.
Okay?
And
One quick question, Judy, can you explain for me the difference between the MS9 and MS10?
MS9 is everything. MS10 is just the TD investment amounts, the investments. So the difference in the total amounts is that the MS9 is everything, So it's your checking account, all the monies are in the MS9. The MS10 is just looking at the TD allotments.
But it also had the Common Trust Library 1 and 2 on there.
It's required by the state to be broken out and shown separately, and it's because there were multiple people that put into those. It's a common trust. They want them listed separately so that they can see them. When the trusts were set up, those were the people that put into it. That's just the way the state wants to see it.
And to clarify, which I think your question is, those are not the library trust funds that the library trustees manage.
Yes,
They have their own their own MS9 and 10.
correct. Those are the ones that we hold. We hold 7 library trusts, and those are the 2, but they're called common trusts is the name and the actual name of the trust. And it was groups of people that came in together and made up the trust, and that's how the state wants to see that. Whereas all the
Okay.
other trusts are a named trust, and it's just one trust. There were multiple
see.
people. Yeah, there were multiple people
Okay.
put into it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any new business?
Futures.
No, that's really old business.
I'm just looking at Judy.
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is any document we have to say how it is to be utilized.
Okay.
Okay. Any comments from the public? We do have a member of the public. All right, so.
Bring a friend next time, you know.
Bring the whole neighborhood. All right, so hearing no additional items, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I will second that emotion.
All right, we'll call the roll. Peter,
yes.
Dana,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.